Okay everyone, welcome back to the second part of this mini sprint car tutorial. Now we're going to work on editing some of the nodes and doing some, or creating some single line cut paths inside this design or the main silhouette to kind of give you some detail of the actual sprint car itself. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to change the fill color, go up here to the color and put none. That way we can see what's underneath. We're actually going to zoom in here and look at some of the existing lines that we created from that first part of the tutorial. And as you can see around this tire, it's not perfectly round. There's actually a node in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select the indirect select tool, and we're going to click on that. And when we do it, we can move it around. And if you look in here, we have these things called handles. You can kind of pull the cut path wherever you want, and so we're just going to kind of move that around to where it looks a little more smooth. It takes a little bit of skill to do that. We don't want to move it too much. We could actually use the delete anchor point tool, and we could actually just take that out of there if we wanted. That looks fairly good. Maybe we can move it just a little bit here. Make it look a little bit nicer. Okay, well I think that looks pretty good. So we can zoom out. It looks much better than before. What else do we have in here? Well, we also have part of the tire over here. So we're going to use this pen tool here. I'm going to put an anchor point there and an anchor point down here and pull into that radius. And then we're going to constrain it. I think you hold in Alt while you're doing this, the Alt key. And we're just going to move that around there. So now what happens is if you select both of these and you go to Unite down here, it's going to make it one piece. And I think we're going to do that also down here around this tire. Let's take the circle tool, and I can kind of see where the tire is underneath here. It's very got a lot of shadowing going on. So we're just going to try to do the best we can. Maybe we can zoom out and get a better idea. I'm going to unlock the artboard here. That way we can change the opacity. Sometimes with shadowing, you can change the opacity and you'll actually see a little bit more of the detail. It's not really happening so much in this case. So it's just going to be kind of a judgment call. You're going to have to kind of figure out where that tire is most likely to be. And I think it's up here more. I really do. So we got that in place. I'm going to click on the underlying design work, and we're going to lock that back in place. Object lock the selection. Now we want to use the direct select tool over here. Click on this outline, and then you can hold in the shift key. Click on that one, and that'll allow you to select two different objects at the same time. And then we can go down here to Unite. And so that takes care of the silhouette a little bit better. Just kind of look around the artwork here, make sure there's nothing that really sticking out, looks odd. The lines look fairly good. Looks like we're following it fairly well. Looks pretty good all through in here. I'm just using this little hand tool over here, and what you do is you push down or you click down and you drag it, and it allows you to move around the artboard. Alright, so let's draw this in here, these little bars. Use the pen tool, and we can just let's move that node back here like this. Move it around like that, and then we can do something similar to that down here as well. Like that. And what I like to do is for bars and stuff like that, just use the square tool. Makes it a nice uniform look, and we can actually draw a bounding box around all of the artwork. When you draw a bounding box around it, you just click and drag, and whatever you drag over top is going to get highlighted in blue here. And go to the Unite button, click that, and there you go. It's part of the outline now. So we're going to use that hand tool and move back across the artwork and work on this front push bumper or whatever it is here. Alright. We're just using that pen tool again, and we're making objects here. We can probably capture this too. We're going to exaggerate it because that's a very small detail. If you create something that's too small, when you actually go to cut it, it's not going to cut. It's just going to fall out. So again, I used the bounding box here and just drew over top, and it selected everything, all the objects. Now we're going to go down to the Pathfinder tool again and go to Unite. And if you want help finding that Pathfinder tool, if you go to the window up here, Pathfinder tool is right here. If you click on it, it's going to put the little check mark, and it's going to show up down here. And so this is a really neat tool that I use a lot. So I think now we have pretty much everything locked into place the way that we want for the main silhouette. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to select that main outline. I'm going to change the fill color to black, but then I'm going to go up here to opacity, and I'm actually going to drop that down to about 20%. And when we did this artwork, I didn't really scale it, so we need to figure out what the size is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a bounding box around it, select it, and I'm going to go down here to the Transform tab, and if you look, it has the width and the height, and I think that's fine for this design. It's a pretty good size, so we could get a lot of detail in here. So after you do the main silhouette, I like to do the main dropouts if I can, pieces of the artwork that are actually just going to drop out once you get done cutting it. So if you look in through the cab area, there's a lot of area in here that is actually going to drop out. So what I'm going to suggest doing is grabbing this pen tool and drawing it out, but we're not going to draw all the bars in there. We're going to just draw it out, the main outline here. So we're just going to go like this, and I do that quite often. We need to change the fill color so we can see what we're doing here. Now we'll just click the pen tool and click that pen tool here. And then if you select or click on the very last node, you can continue off what you're doing. We're just going to draw back up to here. So now this is the main area that is going to drop out. So we can change that to white fill color. Well, looks like you have to select it. And you can select it by clicking this direct select tool here and then clicking on it. That highlights it. Change it to white. And then we're going to select that main outline by directly clicking on it. Change that to, well, it's already got a color in there, so what we can do is we can actually click on both of these at the same time so they're both highlighted, and then go back here to the Pathfinder tool, and we're going to minus the front. The white is showing up over top of the black, so you're minusing the front from the back. So that takes that out of there. So in this design, that's what we would do as kind of the next step in creating the artwork for this mini sprint car. Is, you know, we did the main outline, and now we're taking away the main interior cuts, and the main interior cut that's going to drop out is in this cockpit area. So I think I'm going to stop right there and work on creating another tutorial on how we can actually get into creating some of the single line cut paths.